microphone is all the way over here, so
Okay.
make sure everybody's speaking out.
We're ready.
I'd like to call the May 20th, 2025 Board for Licensing Contractors meeting to order. We will start with the roll call to my left.
Bill Man, Jackson. Carter, Nashville.
Jennifer Ransom, Memphis.
Mark Flood, Knoxville. Ronnie Tickle, Memphis. Randy Chase, Nashville.
All right, first order of business is to adopt the agenda. Are there any changes or additions?
Madam Chairman, I've got one to be read in for medical course or medical RC or medical providers, med gas providers. I'm sorry. We're going to add in one other application that you all have, but it's not on the agenda, and it's for Red Lion Med Gas Consultants. Yes.
Any additional changes to the agenda? If not, I'll accept a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda has been adopted. Next item is the approval of the meeting minutes for the March 25th, 2025 meeting. We have a motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to license reviews and approvals. Let's see, we'll accept a motion to approve initial apps, revisions, increases, add classes, mode, name changes, LEs, LPs, home improvements. If there's, can we get a motion for approval?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Applications with factors. Any discussion?
I have one. Name is Motivate Innovate LLC. Out of Memphis. Approval, BC paid license. We also the B commercial. Justified B, so I did not recommend the B, and he had asked for a $50,000 license. Motion to approve that. I already done this some renovation, just not starting up. Bill Knox, it came in. That late. Why did he give you?
Conversation. Anyone else? Thanks.
Yeah, I have one, kind of a limited license, electrician application. Gentleman named Mr. Besnallers, he had an issue a couple of years ago where we issued a civil penalty. He agreed to pay that civil penalty. It's in 2023, signed it and everything. Now he's coming back to the line to renew or get his license renewed, and we're denying that. And I agree with that until he pays the penalty. He's claiming he can't afford to pay the penalty or didn't know what he was signing or some such stuff. And so, obviously, we're not going to accept that. We work with him if needed on a payment plan or whatever we can do to help him, but he's got to pay that fine before we can reinstate his license. Do you have anything to add?
I would add a few things for the record. This is a renewal application for an LLE, but he does have an outstanding consent order for 2 or 3 years ago that he signed and failed to pay. It's $3,000. Pursuant to TCA 62-6-120, it's a violation of statute to fail to pay a penalty assessed pursuant to an order of the board. The consent order was an order of the board. And then pursuant to TCA 62-6-118, the board has the power to refuse to issue the renewal based on that violation. So, as Mr. Chase said, I would recommend that you refuse to issue the renewal until he pays that penalty. And I would also like authority to enter into a payment plan with him if he desires. And if he does that, then we can renew the license.
Will the license be renewed like upon first payment, or does it have to be completely, the payment plan have to be satisfied?
It would be renewed. If he does go the option of entering into a payment plan, it would be renewed once he enters into that payment plan agreement. But the language of the payment plan would be if he defaults, misses one payment, his license is immediately suspended until and then if he defaults past 60, I think it's 60 days, then all that is due immediately if he defaults past 60 days. So there's some protections in place if he fails to miss those.
So timeline on that plan is what?
We typically don't go over a year, so I would recommend $250 a month, which would equal to $3,000.
When does it renew?
Do what?
When did his license expire or?
I'm not certain if I think it is expired, so but it's within the grace period. So if he agrees to the payment plan, it would be renewed as soon as he does that. But I think for purposes of a vote, the decision would be to refuse to issue the renewal until he pays and or enters into a payment plan with us.
We need to take a vote on that one separately.
Yes.
Okay. So I get a motion to,
I'll move to approve Kyle to negotiate a payment plan with him.
And if he fails to pay, then the license or the renewal is not refusing to issue.
Second.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we'll go ahead and offer the payment plan for that gentleman. Any other applications with factors? I had one, it was a home improvement, contractor. He'd performed some work as a subcontractor, that was above his limit. He drove to the Nashville office actually when he was supposed to come here, but we met over Teams and his license was approved. And we did give some instruction on not to exceed his monetary limit. So we did approve that license. Anyone else? All right, can we have a motion to approve application of effectors?
Motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Fresh Start Act pre-approval.
Yes, Madam Chair. We have a fresh start pre-approval. He is seeking pre-approval to apply for an LLE license in consideration of his criminal history. So you all have to decide whether you're going to deny him based on his criminal history or approve him to apply for a license. He is currently incarcerated and his sentence is not up until 2034. He has 2 felony convictions, rape of a child. And this is Michael Rico is the applicant's name. He was convicted of rape of a child and aggravated sexual assault in 2006. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison in total. And as I said, he's set to be released in 2034. Pursuant to statute and considering whether to deny or approve this pre-approval, if you're going to consider denial, you have to consider 4 factors outlined by statute. That is the relationship between the nature of the crime and the purposes of regulating the occupation, profession, business, or trade. B, the relationship between the crime and the ability, capacity, and fitness required to perform the duties and discharge the responsibilities of the occupation, profession, business, or trade. C, any evidence of rehabilitation or treatment undertaken by the individual that might mitigate against the relationship of crime to the occupation, profession, business, and trade. And then D, any applicable federal laws regarding an individual's participation in the occupation. I'd like to note there's no applicable federal laws, so we're really looking at the first 3 factors there. So I would open it up for discussion on that application.
So he's currently incarcerated, won't be eligible for release until 2034, but he wants the license to practice while he's incarcerated.
That seems to be his idea. Yes.
Okay.
How's he gonna do that?
Yeah.
That's delegation.
Yeah.
Delegation. What?
I think we probably need to, that is a consideration, but I think we need to go through each factor and come in and discuss each factor and how
Okay.
everybody feels about it.
Okay, so the relationship between the nature of the crime and the purposes of regulating the occupation, profession, business, or trade. And obviously it's a residential, probably a residential license.
LOE, it's an LOE.
LOE, yes. So I think due to the nature of his conviction, the crimes that he committed, I mean, I couldn't in good conscience, allow someone to be in a home setting in that kind of situation.
I think that the nature of the crime is very violent, and the purpose of regulating occupation is, and one of your duties is to prevent harm. And so he would obviously, with him still being incarcerated, if you were to approve it now, then he's got that license, so on, and has the opportunity to renew every 2 years. So at some point, he would have that license and be around other persons, performing electrical work, children. So I think you need to consider that with this felony conviction of rape of a child and sexual assaults, very, very violent behavior.
I think the second factor is similar relationship between the crime and the ability, capacity, and fitness required to perform the duties and discharge of responsibility of the occupation. Similar argument there. And there's C factor C, any evidence of rehabilitation or treatment undertaken by the individual that might mitigate its relationship with the crime to the occupation. He's still incarcerated, so he don't really know that he's been rehabilitated, but I think issuing the license before he's released, hopefully he will be rehabilitated, but.
I think that's a good point. The purpose of the sentence is they feel that that's how long it takes for him to do his time and be rehabilitated. So I think that's a good point, is that maybe after he's released from prison, he can be fully rehabilitated. But apparently he's still got 8 years to serve in that. So I think that's a good justification that he's not fully rehabilitated yet, because he still has several years to serve with the sentence. Was there anything, the discussion on the application, anything that he presented as far as evidence of rehabilitation? I think he did note that he had a couple other states have granted licenses. Now they may have their own laws related to that. We have these laws that we have to consider. I think he is arguing that he's been doing well in there, has been in certain programs within the prison, and been doing some work along with those. But I think it's still valid justification that his sentence is yet to be fully completed.
I'm not sure what program exists when somebody's incarcerated, but is it possible that he can actually run or operate that business within the next 8 years, have a license?
That's actually a good point. That's a concern as well. If say you were to issue this license and he is incarcerated, I mean, they have opportunity for phone calls. We don't know who his friends out there. He actually could use this license, in relation to friends out in the public. Not saying he would, but that's a concern that you may want to consider as well. That's a good point.
So we're deciding to either approve or deny his application based on his criminal history.
Yes. It sounds like, and I'll just reiterate what you all said for the record, but it looks like, based on the factor A, the relationship between the nature of the crime and the purposes of regulating the occupation profession, is that you all consider this a very violent crime, a very violent felony conviction, and the justification would be that there's room for him to be around other persons and children and performing electrical work, and it's your duty in regulating that profession to prevent that kind of harm. And then B, I think you all discussed a similar justification for that. which is the relationship between the crime, the ability, capacity, and fitness required to perform the duties and discharge the responsibilities of the profession. I think you all discussed again the violent nature of the felony conviction and how that would indicate he does not have the capacity and fitness to perform the responsibilities of the profession at this time. And then C, any evidence of rehabilitation or treatment undertaken by the applicant that might mitigate against the relationship of the crime to the occupation, profession, or business or trade. I think you all discussed how he's currently still incarcerated, so that would indicate that he potentially is not fully rehabilitated and may have that argument once he's released from his sentence. And then D, I would say for the record, there's no applicable federal laws regarding his participation in the occupation. So if that's the justification from the board members, we can take a vote on it. And then I think the last thing is you'll need to state a date that he can reapply for this. I would recommend when he's released from prison.
So we'll need a motion to deny his application based on his history, as well as the instruction of the dates that he can reapply once he's released.
Question, there's a fresh start at apply and something that's still in prison.
Yes, it does. It just,
He gets out.
it's still, once he gets out, he will still, this will still be a consideration. Now he can, obviously we'll have a better argument that he's been rehabilitated at that point. And that'll be 7 or 8 years from now. So it'll still be the same consideration if he decides to reapply at that point, but we'll just have to take it up at that time.
And there may be new fresh start rules, adaptations as well, between now and then too.
He could be paroled early, but we'll just say on release.
On release. So, and also I'd like to add, so you guys are giving me authority pursuant to the fresh start pre-approval. We have to send him a written letter of the justifications for the reason of the denial. So add that into the motion.
Right. That includes all of
Motion we need a motion to deny the fresh start pre-approval based on the justifications that you all just listed.
So we'll need a motion to deny the pre-approval based on the that we just discussed and the factors that we agree.
All right, I'll give it a shot. I'll make a motion that we deny the application based on our discussions about the four criteria presented to us today. And if this applicant can reapply upon release from incarceration. And that we give Kyle the ability for a release to send something in writing to this gentleman. Those things.
I say, I should.
Excellent. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, RCE provider reviews and course approvals. We have 4 on the agenda with the addition of Red Line Med Gas. Any discussion on these?
I know all you guys know a lot about medical gas. Looking down the road here. We're leaning on you. But I do have some experience in medical gas, and both these companies look fine to me. Get more of those kind of groups certifying medical gas contractors in our professional industry. So I would say that from my standpoint, good folks. I don't know about the PhD Academy course. That looked okay.
Yeah. All right. No further discussion. Motion to, we get a motion for the.
Motion. Have a second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, pre-licensing and course renewal. Training Center LLC. Get a motion to approve.
Where are they going to take them?
I have that pulled up. Give me a second. St. Louis.
Any discussion? Okay, can we get a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business. Initial approval of proposed rule repeal.
Yes, legal is seeking initial approval to set a rulemaking hearing over the repeal of rule chapters 0765-01 and 0765-02. Just for quick discussion, you all may remember, but 2008 Home Improvement Commission was a separate commission in this board. And in 2008, that was transferred over to the Board of License and Contractors. That previous Home Improvement Commission that was separate had their own rules in chapters 0765-01 and 0765-02. Basically, when that law happened, it transferred it to the board. There is no longer statutory authority for those rules. They should have been repealed. They haven't been yet. So we are seeking initial approval to set a rulemaking hearing to repeal those rules. You all should have seen the red line in your pre-material package. It's just everything's gone. Now, I would just like to add, just for everyone's clarity, is that when that transferred to the board, you all have your own rules in place regarding home improvement already. They're pretty much closely identical to those rules. It's just those previous rules were never repealed, but they should have been. They're out there with no statutory authority, so they need to be repealed. So I would just ask for initial approval to set a rulemaking hearing regarding those chapters.
So get a motion for initial approval to set the rulemaking hearing to repeal those previous home improvement.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried. Private letter ruling recommendation?
Yes. So we had a request for a private letter ruling. I'll give, just for the record, a brief overview of the law, but pursuant to TCA 6276-107, a licensee may request that the board issue an advisory private letter ruling on any matter that is within the board's jurisdiction. If a request is made, the board must issue an advisory private letter ruling on the matter. We did receive the attached request, which was in your materials. We have conducted research on that question, and we presented that proposed recommendation to you on that issue. So you do have the option to approve that recommendation with approve the recommendation with provisions, authorize the issuance of a different advisory opinion, or refer the request back for further research. So that is up to you all. You can have a discussion on it.
Any discussion about the city of Clarksville ruling? Oh, do you want to just give like a brief overview or giving me kind of the letter?
I can. So the question presented by the requester was whether it's lawful for the city, who is both an owner and a licensed contractor, to accept bids and quotes that exceed $25,000 from unlicensed contractors, and clarification, who are not performing mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and roofing work over $25,000, or performing masonry work over $100,000. The recommended conclusion is that it would be unlawful for the city to accept bids or quotes or otherwise contract with unlicensed contractors where the monetary amount of the work exceeds $25,000, because the unlicensed contractors would be contracting directly with an owner, meeting the statutory definition of prime contractor, so they would not be considered subcontractors.
I agree with the recommendation. Any discussion? Okay, so we need a motion to
The recommendation.
approve the recommendation.
Motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Online exam option on next examination provider contract.
Yes, I've got that one. There was no information that was provided for. This is more or less an introduction of discussion on this. I was contacted by our procurement attorney, who's starting to work on the next iteration for our contract out. Currently, it's with PSI. That contract ends next July. One question they had was whether or not we want to include in our next contract the ability to do online examination instead of just physically in person at locations. And so, just want to gauge where the board is feeling about expanding to online from home or some other proctored way that's I guess outside of the testing facilities or centers. I'm aware that some states have adopted this. I don't know all the details, and again, there's no need to have a decision today, but just something that maybe to get in front of the board and have some thought about it, and we can reconvene about it. But welcome any discussion you have now or any questions you might want to know or to figure out, and we can talk about it again at the next board meeting. And so just kind of throwing it out.
Our open book anyway.
They are for certain. Yeah, they are for, and you can have on certain books, but yes, they're open book. Yes.
Sense of physical legitimacy. Right.
In in my vast experience of 1 year, I've only happened recently that I've been contacted by our current provider, PSI, about some questionable markings, and somebody's coming in with or walking out with writing things in their books, more or less, questions and stuff. And so, but that's only been one instance out of the entire time that I'm aware of. Somebody questioning whether or not they're taking questions out and providing them out to somebody else. But it was checked and it was caught. So
PSI offer that.
I believe they do. Again, I don't have a whole lot of research. I've done a whole lot of research on this. This was kind of just really recent, but just wanted to kind of get it out there and just kind of feel if this is an avenue to explore. Not so.
Some value in exploring it. I know in Memphis, the testing, there's only one testing center, and it can be limited availability for people. So this could actually expand those options for testing. So definitely worth looking into.
Did you say other states or
Other states are doing it. I don't have any concrete example.
Like a 99. I think that's what I would investigate is what other states
Yeah.
are running into.
Yeah.
We're seeing 70s and 80s and that kind of thing, and everybody's doing it online, making a 99.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest one thing we can look into is what their online proctoring is. Although the test is open book, you want to make sure to prevent other people from coming in the room and spitting out information to them, stuff like that. So that's something we can follow back up on.
That was my concern, there's some reading here later to go to AI, university.
Exactly.
Having some real difficulty with that, so I guess
Yeah.
maybe it needs to be looked at.
They got to have some safeguards in place.
It's gotta have some.
Another big thing would be identifying the person that's taking the exam. I'm sure the software is able to do that, but I want some specific questions on that. We can follow up on that.
Okay. All right. I'll provide more, put more research into it, and we can talk about it again next board meeting. Again, nothing has to be decided today, but they are starting to gear up to write the next contract. So. Yes, is there reconfirm our auditor calculations, and so just kind of the background on this is we had an internal audit conducted on how our processes go for specifically renewals that occurred a few months ago, and then of course there was a reporting out and everything, but there was lots of good questions that were asked, and we were fine overall as far as the audit goes, but there were some questions that we couldn't necessarily point back to where we were, the authority of why we do certain calculations the way we do them for our financial statements and things like that. And I'm sure, the previous executive director probably could reach out and she probably could tell me exactly where we got them from, but we as a team could not point back to a specific adoption of, hey, these are the rules, or these are the things that we accept on our calculations. And then in your packet there, it was labeled auditor SOP. I'm trying to give me a second, pull it up here. And I want to talk specifically when, and I'll just read this out, talking specifically how we calculate working capital and net worth, and then some different things that factor in. And so I'll read these off, and this is how we've been currently doing these, but asking for a board decision for reconfirmation that this is what the board accepts these calculations, how we do them. So that way we can point back to a decision in the future. So I'm just going to start there. If the working capital does not support the monetary limit, the worksheet will indicate the amount of a line of credit necessary to equal 10% of the monetary limit. If the applicant chooses not to obtain a line of credit, the applicant may opt to submit a personal financial statement and guarantee agreement. Similar to the business balance sheet, they can enter the personal financial sheet and labeled as that's just behind the scenes business. In some situations, more than one personal financial statement may be submitted. Each personal financial statement must be accompanied by a guarantee agreement, and each personal financial statement will be separately added to the individual supplemental financial statement pages. Alternatively, the applicant may lower the requested monetary limit to the one supported by the balance sheet already submitted. So that's for the working capital. If the net worth does not support the monetary limit, the applicant will submit a personal financial statement and guarantee agreement. They alternately may lower the requested monetary limit to the one supported by the balance sheet already submitted. And then a line of credit is not an available option to cure a net worth deficit. So those are kind of pretty standard. But here's the things that we kind of want to kind of hone in on. If a personal financial statement is submitted, any 401k or IRA listed must be discounted by 50% before being used in the working capital calculation. The cash surrender value of the life insurance is treated as a current asset. Frequently, the applicant will list Social Security as a receivable. This amount shall be disregarded, as there is no guarantee the receivable will be received if the recipient dies. In addition, the applicants frequently use house, a car, and tools, equipment as current assets. These amounts must be reclassified as long-term assets. If the applicant lists the value of their investment in the business seeking the license, this amount is also disregarded. And lastly, if the applicant lists their mortgage or note payable as entirely long-term, the current portion of the long-term debt must be calculated using 10% for mortgages, 35% for all long-term debt, subtracted from the amount shown in the long-term liabilities and added to current liabilities. Once the working capital and net worth support the requested monetary limit, and then the application can be approved financially. And so those are the things that we want to reconfirm specifically about the 401ks, the IRAs, the Social Security, and how they're adjusted in the statements to be calculated correctly for the board purposes.
Why are you discounting Social Security? That's guaranteed from the government. What about that?
Because,
Well, I understand you don't, but that just takes him out.
Takes that person, if it's an LLC.
If you discount it. I'm alive and I'm taking Social Security. Why am I going to get discounted? That's,
Mhm.
36,000 better.
Right.
So your Social Security don't count, even though that you've been working all this year. That doesn't make sense.
That's the way
I guess it makes sense at all.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not an accountant.
I know. I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah.
why exactly.
I just say that's the way I guess that's the way that we've been calculating it.
It may not be calculated.
Sure. We can definitely move to table this and get more information.
Yeah, get more information, why. Agree, yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Question as well. What's the value of their investment in the business seeking the license? That amount is also disregarded. It's just their investment in the business. They can count the business value. Or does it come in?
That's another one too, that's kind of that's a catch, I mean, from there. Oh, I'm telling you.
Mhm.
I mean, if you got your money invested in your business,
Well,
and
like
everything
starting
else,
for a loan shareholder or something into the business, that to me seems different than just like value of the business. So
Okay.
that language is, the way it's read,
Yeah.
seems like it's investment.
that doesn't sound right.
I've got your concerns. I will research and we can, if that's okay, we'll table this and have a further discussion at the next board meeting.
It's simply like putting current assets.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Chris,
Mhm.
48 changes and clarifications to the legal report are as follows. Number 77 on the legal report, that's case number 2024066181. We are going to close with a
Hey.
letter of instruction.
I can't hear you.
Okay. I need to re-announce. All right, so changes and clarifications to the legal report are as follows. Number 77 on the legal report, that's case number 2024066181. We are going to close with a letter of instruction. Also, there's a clarification on number 78. Number 78, the third line should read, the respondent threatened to have security remove the complainant from the work zone, not the respondent threatened to have security remove respondent. So that respondent in the third line should read complainant. And those are all the clarifications and changes that I have. So.
Okay, so, any discussion? We'll need a motion to approve the legal report with the amendments stated.
Motion to approve.
And a second.
All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Kyle, legislative update.
Yes. So the biggest thing I have for you is that the Less is More Act has passed. Pertinent to this board, that removes the requirement that you meet in each grand division every year. So you are no longer required to meet in Knoxville or Jackson or Memphis every year. The other big change is that it allows for electronic participation by board members during meetings. Now, we already do that for the public anyway, which is also a requirement of the bill, but you all would be allowed to participate electronically. You could even hold a full meeting electronically. Now, there is a requirement that you meet at least once a year and have a physical form present. The big change is that first one that I discussed, which is that you are no longer required to meet in each grand division every year. So we do have the next meeting set, that's currently on our website, which is set for Knoxville. I don't think we have any reservations confirmed or anything yet.
Yes, we do.
We do have confirmed
Yeah.
reservations,
But
but
we do have. confirmed
we have the ability
reservations,
to,
so-
I guess, turn
We
them
can
off.
cancel,
We can
yeah.
cancel, but-
So I think we need some discussion and vote on how we want to move forward. Do we want to continue with what we've been doing and having meetings in each grand division? Do we want to, by law now, we could have them all in Nashville? And then you also have that caveat of electronic participation as well. If we have them in Nashville, someone can attend virtually. I will add from the legal side is that, we do have quite a bit of hearings that are set in Nashville where the parties are. So that could get us an opportunity to get more of those running. That's just, but also we have parties sometimes in other divisions where they're located. So it could be a vice versa, but I would say more times the parties are located in Nashville. But overall, we just need some discussion on that and how you guys want to move forward on the meeting locations.
This goes into effect July 1st.
Yes.
So just to clarify that. So like I said, we put out every November, we put out the next year's worth of meetings every November. And so right now, last November, we do have it, on our website that we're going to meet in Knoxville in September. And we do currently have it reserved, but we can obviously change that if so desired. I think the immediate decision we were looking for perhaps is whether or not to meet in person in Knoxville or not in September. Then we can have further discussion about how we want to kind of develop out the rest of our meetings going forward. Based off the new statute. Yeah.
I would be fine meeting that. Seems like it would be honest and they don't care. Staff.
For staff.
Yeah, I'd be good with that. Obviously, I can cover.
What do you say? So we can go to Nathan and we can notice.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How many going to football game?
One thing, like I said, for right now, we have the reservation in Knoxville for September. We do not currently have a reservation to meet in person in Nashville, and I don't know the availability. I'm sure we will work something out, either in the building or potentially, in a hotel or the big library behind us or behind the building there is an option, could be an option. So there will be some, if we decide to go to do it in Nashville in September, we'll have to figure out a venue because we schedule those out, a year in advance. So
July is.
Nashville, but September will.
Actually, you're only required to meet with a quorum physically present once a year.
Once.
So actually, there could be, for instance, 2 or 3 board meetings physically present, and then 6 board members, and then 5 or 6 electronically. The only difference is for every vote, if we have board members participating electronically, we'll have to take a roll call vote.
So I'm assuming it's very similar to what happened during COVID timeframe, and so. I think
You want to go national? Okay. We go national.
okay. All right. And so
Plus, experience.
we will definitely try to get reservations done for Nashville first before we cancel anything in Knoxville.
And then if something happens and we can't, we can bring it back up in July. But hopefully we'll be able to do that. So I guess we just need a motion to have all meetings in Nashville moving forward.
Now, let me ask you this.
Yes.
You say one of the meetings a year has to be a forum where everybody's physically present, is that correct?
A physical quorum has to be present.
Will that meeting be designated well in advance? I guess what I'm saying, so, this is gonna kind of happen.
I mean, I would encourage everybody to try to attend physically. I think it would depend on, obviously we may have certain situations where someone says 2-3 weeks prior that they're going to attend electronically, but we need to be notified as soon as you decide to attend electronically, because we have to put notices on the agenda that these members are attending electronically. We already have the stuff in place where all the public can attend electronically. Does that kind of answer your question? Or?
Yeah, I was just wondering, if everybody gets used to doing, say, electronic or Zoom or
Yeah.
Teams or whatever.
Yeah, we say that the March one is the designated.
Meetings in Nashville. for meeting.
Yeah.
We could do that.
I'm just thinking out loud, just.
Yeah.
You know, or let's take a chance. Maybe.
I agree. I think that
I'll
could
think
be a good idea.
earlier in the year, that way, if something does happen, you can, yeah. So we could perhaps say, the March is the designated, quorum, physical quorum. Unless, here, I would say just sometimes January, maybe, weather,
We could table that specific one and bring it back up. Or,
Yeah.
well, do y'all want to do it?
Yeah.
I agree. That is something. That's a good point.
How is this something that's going to promote some of the other formats for the state right now, meetings?
Yes, this applied to all board or commission meetings. There were only a couple other boards that had requirements like you all do to meet each green division, maybe just one other one, but it also removed that for them as well.
Motion to approve.
I move we change our meetings to Nashville and
Second,
Second, but
all those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Anything else?
Not to be on legislative update.
Okay. Board updates.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, just, we are continuing to get more and more initial applications time over time. So we're not slowing down or cooling off. I mean, we are currently at 34,800 plus as of last week of active or pending renewal licenses across all the professions. So it's still growing. We are still, outpacing what this time we did last year to some degree. Not much, but just barely over what we were as far as our application counts. And so we are currently in one of our, obviously May being a heavy renewal month. So we have a lot of renewals that are occurring in May, the board meeting months. But a year ago, we were sitting at around 26,000 or 2,600 applications just sitting in our inboxes, to be processed. I haven't checked today, been busy, but as of yesterday, we were at 1,100. And so, great kudos to the team again. Everybody fully on board and process is working. And so we're a lot better off than we were 1 year ago when I started taking heavy metrics across the board. And so, I mean, great to Kathy and Janine here, is helping get the team all up and running and working very efficiently. One of the issues that we are working through is a lot of we call them Zendesk tickets, but those are people when the people call in or they email questions or email deficient items on their application. That continues to grow. So we're looking at different ways to streamline our applications, streamline our information on our website. So there may be some updates. I think there's a lot of information, a lot of good information on our website, but I think it's time for maybe perhaps I won't say a wholesale relook, but definitely optimize it to the information that they need. Also, in addition, we're hoping to put kind of examples out there of hey, this is what a certificate of insurance looks like. Obviously something that can't copy and paste and that kind of stuff, but show them exactly what we're looking for. We're also starting a new series of webinars starting next month, and hopefully everybody that's signed up for our e-notify has gotten that information. But it's more or less we'll go through, myself and Janine and whoever else on the team will go through information, things that we're seeing, and have questions and answers for anything. And so we're going to record those so they can. We hope to have those quarterly. Just kind of sit here like open webinar and have questions asked or answered and things like that. So to help educate, inform the public on how our licenses go and answer some of these questions. And so hopefully that will further, hopefully we reduce our, the questions that are coming in, that we're either processing application or we're answering questions. And so more time we have to process applications, that's our goal. And so we can keep the process going. So that's one great initiative that Janine is really working on, getting going. And so we're happy to announce that. And so, but other than that, that's just, I think we're obviously in a better place than we were a year ago, and we'll appreciate all your help getting applications turned around, so that way we can issue them out. So, any questions for me?
On Chris, I think at this point, when they approve the application and send it back to the state, you issue the license or something.
Yeah. It goes back to the processor that sent it to you, and I would say that day or the next day, it's in my inbox, and I don't sign off until my inbox is clear for that day. And so, yes, myself or Janine. Janine has the approval rights to, specifically because I will be gone next week, unavailable.
So we approve, waited to have one more approval of what we really already done.
Yes.
Ratification.
You cut those off, like I got application yesterday.
We cut them off for purposes of ratifying in the meeting. I think, Kathy, you cut your list off maybe a week or 2 weeks
Yeah,
week
the week before.
but we continue to process. So if you sent out something yesterday, it wasn't in the ratification list that we sent out. It'll be caught in the next meeting, but we approve and issue the license and move on. And so in that website, scrubbing of information, there used to be, hey, please get your application in by the 20th of the month. I'm trying to eradicate that from our website. But sometimes it still pops up, or sometimes people still have old applications that they still have it on there. And so we're trying to, but that's no longer the case. We approve them as we get them. So.
1,100 that we have currently, a lot of those are questions that have to be answered before you can send them.
Yes, I mean, a majority of those are renewals, so that they don't go to you unless there's something that pops up and that they've said in their renewal that needs to be re-verified. Those are what goes to you, I would say, are about less than half of those that are gearing up to go to you. Those are the initials, those are the reinstatements, those are the monetary increases or ad classifications, those that require, your experience or expertise to approve the renewals, or if nothing's changed, they're just renewing every 2 years. Those do not go to you. But those are a significant portion of that 1,100 right now, because it's, we're in a big heavy renewal month.
Which I have a question. One, I think we talked about this before, regarding people submitting applications, but they have exceeded a monetary limit with their experience and show that they claim that it's a joint venture. I know there was going to be some other investigation that they need to move.
We're still, I guess, waiting on a rulemaking hearing to be set up for
We're waiting on that. It's in the process of being reviewed internally, and then it goes to the AG's office and that kind of stuff. So we'll have some proposed language there, and then during the rulemaking hearing, that could be where we really let you know.
I've had more than one.
Mhm.
We'll make sure we have all the research for you and what the recommended language is. You guys can consider it during the rulemaking hearing. So.
And one thing I forgot, I apologize, I missed saying is I continue to reach out to other states for reciprocity. And so I would say, prods in the fire for Florida, North Carolina, to expand what we've got with them. waiting on some feedback with Kentucky, with electrical and certain things there. Also Virginia. And now we recently had a meeting with Texas with electrical, and that's kind of, I won't say it's fizzled off, but we're trying to kind of figure out some common ground there with Texas. And so lots of different states, whether we have already current, agreements in place, we're trying to expand, but I know there's been asked for new states, and I think Virginia is a new state, Florida is a new state, and Texas is a new state that we're trying to, but nothing substantial yet. But we're still working through meeting with all of those.
Still working.
Yes, that package is almost done with. It's got to do some post review. We already had the rulemaking here over that. The process unfortunately takes time, but it goes back to the a quick review of the governor's office and AG's office, and they're filed with the Secretary of State's office, and then they usually become effective about 3 months after that. So probably looking towards the end of the year, but it's being finalized towards the end of the process.
All right, anything else?
That's all I have.
Thank you. Kathy, any public comments?
No, I do not see any.
So the next meeting will be on July 29th, 2025 in Nashville. Can we have a motion to adjourn if there's no additional business? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.